Let's move on to topic number 4. The UFC's in Brazil this weekend, and one of their own is at the top of the bill. Alexandre Pantoja is going to defend his flyweight title in the main event, and then in the co-main event, the legendary Brazilian champion, ex-champion Jose Aldo will compete versus Jonathan Martinez, the King of Rio. Guys, he's back. Sounds pretty cool. Except this card, in the eyes of most MMA fans, is kind of meh, right? Is this one of the more underwhelming pay-per-views in your guys' eyes, Nolan? What are your thoughts here, man? Get us pumped up, or did they not do a good job of getting us pumped up?
Yeah, I think that would be hard to do coming off of 299 and 300, but yeah, I mean, it's certainly one of the weaker pay-per-view lineups on paper that we've seen in terms of the what's at stakes, right? Like, what are these fighters fighting for? The immediate. Are there title shots on the line? Are there titles on the line? Are there really big, high stake breakthrough sort of contender fights? And so outside of the main event, which is a title fight, and obviously people will be excited to see Jose Aldo, myself included, in the co-main event. I don't think that there's many fights that really have those immediate divisional stake implications to them, which I think is what you kind of expect out of a pay-per-view, right? Like, outside of the top 2 fights, I think the rest of these fights are things that we could see at an Apex show or something like that. So it's a little underwhelming. I mean, it's great. Brazil's getting another card. I'm sure that the arena will be electric, cheering on their fans and the fans cheering on their fighters. But outside of that, I just think that's lacking that depth and that sort of those sort of higher stake fights. So especially coming off 299 and 300, it's very glaring.
Yeah. Can I say something, George?
Sure.
When it comes, one of the jobs that George has at MMA Junkie is he's in charge of the rankings. When he can do rankings in less than an hour, it's not a good thing for us, okay? If you look at this card, there's just not that many ranked opponents on there. There's not, it doesn't tell a story going forward. And you kind of think, well, okay, this is what we get, right? For 289, 299, 300. We had it pretty good, right? But I don't know, if you took Cody Garbrandt and Davidson Figueiredo off of UFC 300, would we all be going, it wasn't that good of a card? No, right? It'd still be great, but that would have really helped a card like this. And I kind of had wished that they had done something like that. I'm not going to complain because those last 3 cards were amazing. And overall, the UFC product is great. But yeah, this one, George, you're going to have a pretty easy job come Monday.
They exhausted their talent, man. I saw it coming. They didn't need some of those fights at 300. We accepted them, right? But some of those would have done some good. Brazilians that are highly thought of, highly ranked. I just think it could help this one. It's very top heavy. So let's concentrate on the top of the fight. Pantoja versus Erceg. Farah Hanoun, you have a preview show that you're going to do on Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific with someone from the Junkie crew. Maybe you'll go solo. It doesn't matter. You know how to get down on those preview shows. So you're already, I'm sure, formulating thoughts on this main event, but give those viewers an early lean of your early lean for that fight between Pantoja and Erceg. What do you see going down in this title fight?
So I picked Pantoja because of the experience, because of his heart, and he's just a dog, and he'll fight you even if things aren't going according to plan. He'll just go in there and brawl, and he's got a great chin, and he's well-rounded. Erceg, I think, has a cleaner technique. I think a lot of people are counting Erceg out, maybe because they don't really know too much about him, and fair enough. He's only fought 3 times in the UFC, got his first finish in a knockout against Matt Schnell. I spoke to Erceg, and he didn't even have – I spoke to him before this fight was announced, and I told him, I kind of brought it up to him, like, how about you fighting Pantoja? And he's like – because he had called out Brandon Moreno, and he's like, well, yeah, I mean, if they call me, then I'll take it. And then he told Submission Radio that he was eating KFC when they gave him the call, and he decided to finish his meal. He was contemplating, but he decided to finish his meal. So yeah, he didn't expect this, but at the end of the day, he's confident and he's got experience. I know he hasn't fought the same opposition as Pantoja, of course, because Pantoja's fought freaking everybody multiple times as well. So he's fought the best of the best. So can't compare that, but he has a lot of experience in the regional scene. He's a eternal MMA champion. He's very well-rounded. His grappling is very good. I do believe he has the cleaner striking, so he could absolutely make this a fight. He's got experience going into the latter rounds as well. I just think based off of on-paper stuff, I got to go with Pantoja because, like I said, a lot more experience. He's an absolute dog. He's got great cardio, and he just keeps pushing. He just doesn't give up. Got a good chin, and will fight you. So, yeah, I mean, if this goes the distance, I see Pantoja winning. The ground exchanges are what I'm most excited about. But I think this is going to turn out to be a really, really good fight.
Great preview there from Fada Hanoun. And again, prior to the watch along on Saturday that goes and I will host at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We'll watch the fights along with you guys. I know some of you may not get it this time. You're not going to pony up the $80 because it's just not that sexy of a card. But look, we're doing our best to tell you what's going to be on it and why you should get it if you decide to get it. Her preview show will be at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. So, Fada, you want to weigh in or say something else?
Yeah, I just want to say if we're trying to help sell it, I mean, I wouldn't call it the worst pay-per-view. I remember UFC 177 wasn't that great. That was Sacramento, I believe. That was TJ Dillashaw, Joe Soto. Go take a look at that main card, and maybe it'll make you feel better about this one. And this is a bit of an old guard, new guard type of matchups that we're seeing. I saw Paul Craig tell TNT Sports that it feels like the UFC are trying to, given this matchup, to lose. We're seeing a similar situation and potentially Anthony Smith and Vitor Petrino. He's like, I'm pissed off that Vitor Petrino called me out. And then obviously Jose Aldo and Jonathan Martinez is an old guard versus new guard. So there you go, trying to sell an extra pay-per-view.
There you go. And speaking of old guard, new guard, Steven Erceg, I got a message for you. No more KSC. It's all about Popeyes. Spicy chicken sandwich. I'm just going to leave it out there. Nolan and Ghost, are you feeling me?
I got you, dude. And by the way, nobody finishes KFC. KFC finishes you. I don't know when the last time you guys have had that, but that does not go down well.
Nolan, you're not a fan of the chicken sandwich? I noticed there was no fist bump, man. You still on this Lakers Celtics thing? Let it go, bro.
It's playoff season, man. We can't be doing that. Can't be friends this time of year. No, I'm not, believe it or not, I'm not a huge fast food guy. So I was trying to think if there was an alternative. I didn't want to sign up for KFC too quickly, Popeyes too quickly. But given the choice between the two, I think it's 10-8 Popeyes for sure.
All right. Well, Goes, you turned him into a Peruvian food fan. Maybe you can turn him into a spicy chicken sandwich fan.
Well, we 10-7 that place.
Yeah, give me a 10-6 there.
All right. Hey, Goes, listen, how about Aldo's return to the UFC? Yes, it looks like scratches are being, they're helping each other out. The UFC needed star power. Aldo said, okay, but by the way, this is now my last fight with you guys. I am free to do things going forward. Now, he did leave a caveat there. Depending on his performance, he may even re-sign with the UFC. Yeah, okay. But guys, yay or nay, was this the right matchup to make a young Jonathan Martinez against an old dog like Jose Aldo?
Like Farah said, I think this card is telling a lot of stories, right? In the matchups themselves. This is a guy that could potentially finish Jose Aldo with leg kicks. We've seen him do that to so many people. This kid's no joke. This is a tough fight. And Jose Aldo's head just hasn't been in mixed martial arts. He's been boxing, and he's actually been pretty decent at it. So I would think whatever win, lose, or draw here, I think it would probably be the end of him for the UFC. And I think he could probably make some money still doing boxing or a karate combat or even a BKFC. You never know. But the thing with the UFC, it's not that I don't think he doesn't like being there. It's the contract. Once you get that freedom, the ability of doing whatever you want, I think that's hard to give up. And I think he enjoyed boxing, so I could see him going back to that.
Mm-hmm. Nolan, you feeling this matchup of Aldo versus Martinez, or is it just favors written all over it between Aldo and obviously the UFC, who they needed names after pretty much stacking 98, 99, and 300 pretty fat these last few months?
The Dominic Cruz fight was the one to make, and obviously that seemingly was what the UFC wanted, and it fell through. So knowing that could have happened, I feel like that is the right answer.
Okay.
But putting that out of the picture with that not being an option, I think this is a really acceptable matchup. I mean, you look at the odds on paper, it's nearly even. But I really do like the element of Jose Aldo kind of having the opportunity to call it quits in front of his home country. I think that walkout's going to be special. It's something that 6 months ago we didn't think would ever happen. It was kind of a passed over part of history that would have been cool. Now it's going to happen. So I think one way or the other, he's going to get that hero's welcome. He's not at a point yet, in my opinion, where he's checked out from combat sports. We've seen even when he left MMA, he wanted to do something. He wanted to compete. He went and boxed. His last few fights in the UFC, I actually thought were pretty solid. I know the Merab fight was frustrating for him. It was also a 3-round fight, and it was also really, really boring. So I think people have a short memories. And so let's see what he's got left. I mean, he's only 37. I feel like he's been around forever and ever. He hasn't taken a tremendous amount of damage in recent fights. And he's proven over time that when people think he's done, when they think he's diminishing, when they think his skills are going downhill, that a lot of times he proves to people that he still is elite. So I like the scenario overall. I'm a fan of it. The Cruz fight would have been just absolutely the cherry on top of the Sunday. But I'll take what we have, man. This isn't bad either.
He doesn't eat fast food, but he knows his desserts. Good stuff from Nolan King there. Anakin Skywalker says, I like Martinez, but all he has is leg kicks. Well, he's got great leg kicks that have stopped fights, but I wouldn't say that's all he's got. He's definitely getting better with each and every fight, but I think it's a good test. But I really do think, like I say, each party's helping themselves out. Goes, what do you think happens here? Does he fight out his contract, or does he go elsewhere? What's the truth here between Aldo? You have a good bullshit meter. Figure it out for us.
I think he goes elsewhere, man. And I don't know that this to me is still a tough fight, but I really do think he enjoys his freedom. And I think there's things, he still has a name regardless. You can attach him to a lot of things. And I think having that freedom and being able to make that money is what makes the most sense for him.
Who wins the fight, Goes?
I think Jonathan Martinez wins, man.
It hurts to say it, huh? The guy's
it does, because George,
the King of Rio, holy cow.
We sat there at the Hall of Fame. We saw him come out crying like he had turned the page, and now all of a sudden he's back in. Like I don't know. It's not a good frame of mind for me.
Fada, who'd you turn in on staff picks? A very popular post, folks. You can get involved, by the way, as a reader by turning in your staff picks. We average those out, and then you all get to go against us. But who do you got, Fada?
I went with Aldo. I think Aldo wins, and I'm gonna have a different opinion. I wouldn't mind him sticking around the UFC, because if he boxes or whatever else he does, who's he gonna fight? I still think there are notable names: a Dominic Cruz, a Cody Garbrandt. I think TJ Dillashaw's crazy enough to try and come back after double shoulder surgery. There are big names out there for him. Cub Swanson has mentioned 35 to you guys before. I think there are good enough names for him if he beats Martinez and still has that motivation and takes in that crowd reaction and has his moment where he jumps into the crowd. Hopefully he doesn't get fined. I think there are a lot of names for him in the UFC. Bantamweight is stacked, but that's just me. I think it all depends on how he looks on Saturday. If he looks in vintage form, I don't know. I just don't know what's out there for him. Money, sure, but who's he going to fight if he's boxing or whatnot? But that's just me.
Even with a loss, though, because a loss to me, that
no. Well, that's what I'm saying. It depends how he looks. If he goes out there and has a good performance, because like Nolan said, it's not like he's looked bad in his outings. Like the Merab fight is something. I mean, a lot of people have looked very frustrated against Merab, but if he goes out there and plays out on the feet and has a great performance, I just think there are fights out there for him in the UFC. But that's just me. I don't know.
Man, Brazil goes nuts for him, and I have seen him go out there and jump in the crowd. They pick him up and cheer for him and everything, but then the Brazilian media have to put him down and then get back to their seats and doing their job. Joey in the chat room says Aldo is going to win with a lackluster decision, and Skywalker says I really hope Aldo wins. Kudos for Martinez taking this fight. Nolan, real quick, who do you like in this fight?
Aldo. I'm leaning that way. I'm surprised that the line is what it is. But I mean, it's a close fight. Like if Jonathan Martinez goes out there and wins, I won't be surprised. But I feel somewhat confident leaning with Aldo. I think too many people are reading into the inactivity.
Nolan, I'll stay with you. Highlight one other fight that people should keep an eye on for this weekend's action.
I mean, this is a big one for Anthony Smith, man. If he goes out there and he loses, I mean, we're talking again about having that conversation about, I think, him not fighting anymore. So Vitor Petrino's a good litmus test. And for Petrino, I mean, hey, what better way to get yourself in contention than to fight and beat Anthony Smith? So big fight for both guys for kind of opposite reasons.
It'd be interesting to see Guskov and Smith win back-to-back weeks. I bet you a lot of people would be fooled by that. Fada, how about you? Give me highlight one fight for us from 301.
I think Elvis Brenner and Orbale. I hope I'm not butchering his name. I probably did, but Elvis Brenner is a lot of fun, and this is a tough test for him. So fighting in his home country, I think this will be great.
Goes, you get the last word on the show before my proper exit. But who do you like? What's your one fight to keep an eye on?
Paul Craig and Kyle Bahio, I think that's going to be really, really fun. They can both be aggressive at times, but you can't make a mistake in this fight because both guys will make you pay. And if I do have the last word, Mr. Nolan King, if Jose Aldo wins, I won't eat Popeyes for the rest of the year. But if he loses, you got to eat Popeyes on the next show.
Oh, easy. Yeah, no worries.
Mm-hmm.
The comments are cracking me up right now. They always say don't read the comments, but somebody's calling me out saying I sound pretty fun at parties, which I don't know. Do you guys, when you guys eat Popeyes and KFC, do you guys just go to a party and everybody eats it? Is that what happens?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, that must be someone from the South or something like that. That's
It's
not how we
cracking
get
me
down in the West Coast. But
I
yeah.
was trying not to laugh when
Are you good with spicy food, Nolan? Or
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right, just checking. Look, I'm a big fan of the Bonfim brothers. It did not go too well for them the last time they were on the same card, but Vince Pichel's just been a tough test over the years. I'm a big fan of Vince Pichel, but he's also getting older, and I know he's winding down his career. He's been a good friend of the show, but I'm really anxious to see if he can, hold it down, then fine. But Ismael Bonfim, keep an eye on that guy. That guy's usually pretty exciting, as is his brother.